Hello, Kool-Ays. Good morning again. Welcome back to the Undefeated channel. It's good to see you for a second time today. We had our earlier, regularly scheduled Wake Up and Barça covering the live Barcelona news, but now we've got a bonus episode. I've got my good friend Pablo Woolls-Blanco here to discuss the summer transfer deadline day, exits, arrivals. What can we expect? Expectations for Barcelona's season, everything under the sun. Of course, you can get your questions in the chat. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel so you can be part of the conversation with Pablo Woolls-Blanco while we talk all things Barcelona. My friends, let's go ahead and kick things off the right way and jump right into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuning in to the Undefeated Mustache John.
All right, with no further ado, we'll jump over and bring on Pablo here. Pablo, say hello to the Stash Squad and welcome back, my friend.
Hey guys, hello everyone. Hi John. It's nice to be back. It's great to be back. Of course, last few hours of the window. Really, I never know if it's deadline day today or tomorrow or how many hours we've got left. But we're entering the final stages. And yeah, it's good to be back. Of course, it's good to be back and just talk about some Barca. And yeah, we're already in the season now, so things have got started.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's start with clarifying when transfer deadline actually is, because I think I said transfer deadline day because it was August 31st, but they've changed it. It's now September 1st, sometime in the evening, right?
I was literally before the stream because in my eyes it's always been August 31st, and then the second it turns to September 1st, cut. That's it. No more transfers. But apparently, actually September the 1st, and then in the evening of September the 1st, it cuts, I believe.
Yes. So that's what we're going with. For the purpose of this conversation, context-wise, that's what we're going with. So before we get into any potential deadline day, last 24, 36 hours moves, it's been a wild transfer summer already for Barcelona. And I know that you're also a Chelsea supporter, so feel free to give some of that perspective. But particularly around Barcelona, what has been your takeaways from this summer? Did you see any of this coming?
Well, it's been a crazy summer. First of all, we have to say it's been an unbelievable summer actually for Barcelona, and I always remember, and I'm almost certain. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the last time I was on here was before any of the famous palancas, the economic levers, had been pulled for Barcelona. And I remember we were kind of thinking, hang on a minute, De Jong's leaving here. That's another big player out the door. We lost Messi and Griezmann last summer. It's again looking like a bleak summer for Barcelona. The economic levers came in, and I remember I'm a little bit scarred from the last windows of Barcelona. I was a little bit skeptical, really, but you know what? The board seemed to actually do a very good job in the end. And look, we have a strong team now. We have a competitive team now. As you say, we've got a few hours of the window left, so let's see how it ends up looking. But I think either way, Barca have got a strong team for this season. We've made good signings. You look at the likes of Koundé as a massive addition. Lewandowski up front has started better than I even thought he would. You even got more fringe players like Kessie or Christensen, who we've spoken about a lot on here, and who I think is going to be a really good player for Barcelona. And Rafinha is a star. So I think, look, from a Barcelona point of view, it's been close to a perfect window. We have to say that because we've had some really bad times. Everyone was saying, "Come on, let's get back on top again. Let's make a competitive team," and it's what they've done. So the Barcelona are looking good. Honestly, the team is stronger, and that's all we can really say about it. They've done a very good job. And yeah, I mean, all around Europe, there's been some big moves. There's been some big money spent, as always. You look at the Premier League, which is just completely out of control right now, which I think is another issue, actually, in relation to the other leagues in Europe. It's just the money there is insane. But again, there's been big moves there. We've seen Fofana recently, Antony to United. Big moves, of course. But from Barcelona point of view, which is what we're here to talk about, I think we can be pleased with the window. They've shown ambition, and the squad is looking strong.
Looking strong indeed. Some big names coming in, right? So I'm going to put you on the spot right away.
Yeah.
Lewandowski, Rafinha, Christensen, Koundé, Kessie. Who's going to have the biggest impact by the end of the season for Barcelona?
It's tough. I'll tell you what. I get the feeling that by the end of this season, I think it'll be Robert Lewandowski, because I think this is a guy who looks like a machine to me. So I'll have to say Robert Lewandowski. But I always said this, and I always thought the signing Barcelona most needed to make this summer was Jules Koundé. I really did think that, and they've made it. I think he's the best centre-back in the market for Barcelona. He's quick, he's strong. He's very good at bringing the ball out the back, very comfortable with the ball, and I think he's going to be a star. I think it's what Barcelona need as well. Not to say that we've always scored goals, because to be honest, the last few seasons, well, since Messi left, we haven't exactly been firing in front of goal, you could say. So we still need goals from Lewandowski, which some people don't always say. They always say, we're so good in attack and we need defenders. I say, well, we're not that good in attack right now, so it's still important that Lewandowski and Rafinha have come in. But I think Barcelona, it's so obvious that we needed defenders and good ones. And I think Koundé is one of the best in Europe. So I'd think, I'm trying to be Mr. Clever almost and try and put Koundé above Lewandowski and not give in to the hype. But I have to say, I think Koundé is such an important signing for Barca. But impact this season, I think we've made some class ones, I do. But I think Lewandowski looks like a real machine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also would love to see you kind of shoehorn Koundé into being the most impactful there. And like you said, it's going to be huge on the defensive side of the ball. Absolutely. For me, same. Lewandowski, he makes us dangerous again. Not just threatening, but truly dangerous, to where we're not going to have back lines pressing up in front of the midfield against us like we've seen last season. I mean, you said it. It's going to be Lewandowski. So
yeah,
I'm very excited for all of them that have come in. Big names, big expectations, of course. But now we've got a little bit of some crowding going on at the club. So there's some names on the exit list. Just a little bit of time left. Let's start with Aubameyang, because first and foremost, how horrific of an event, with the robbery and assault. Thankfully, everyone is going to be okay, but it's looking like perhaps a fractured jaw on Aubameyang could influence his medical, his transfer. What's the latest that you've heard in terms of the Aubameyang to Chelsea transfer?
Well, I'd imagine similar to you. I mean, what happened to Aubameyang was really horrific, to be honest, because we hear these stories about these thieves breaking into footballers' houses quite often, actually. But it's always an issue once the people are actually present, and when they start, doing all sorts of things to people once they're in there. It's really horrific to hear, and I think it must be quite scary as well for the players, the families. They've got kids. It's a really horrible thing to happen. So, I mean, it changes everything transfer-wise. It really does for Aubameyang, because I actually think he was going to move to Chelsea this window, and he may still. I still think the move is on, but I think that was going to happen. I think Barcelona thought, this is a guy whose wages increased this season. We got so much out of him. We got him for free. He's 33 years old. Chelsea are going to pay us over 20 million euros here at least. From a financial point of view, it's a very good deal for Barcelona, and I think they feel that they're well enough covered in attack. I still do think Barcelona would be missing quite a big player in Aubameyang, to be honest, and I think everyone would agree. All Coolest would agree with that, actually, because he's been class for Barcelona. But I think Aubameyang and Chelsea were close to agreeing the move. I do think this changes things, even though some reports have said it doesn't. Let's see what happens with Aubameyang now, because like I said, I did think it was going to go through. I still think there's a possibility of it happening, but the latest is that I don't think it's as likely anymore. I don't. So let's see. It's really up in the air right now, as is a lot of things on this deadline day, actually, because we heard, similar things, and I'm sure, we'll get onto it with Marcos Alonso and moves that are kind of, they're set to be done, but we've got a few hours left. So if things don't happen, then at the end of the day, they're going to stay put. Aubameyang might be a similar one. And of course, the breaking and the broken jaw, it changes a lot, because I think Chelsea need players now. They need goals now. And if that's Aubameyang missing for 4 to 5 weeks, then that might change a lot, So it's interesting. Aubameyang, I think, could still move, but it's all on the fence right now, unfortunately. And I'm unable to give a clear answer. I'm sorry.
Understandably so. I saw somebody, I forget, scrolling through Twitter, saying that it might have gone from a buy option to now a loan. It's fine, I guess. But my standpoint on it now, I guess, is because we have the players registered. Do we need that cash, right? And if not, if we're not really desperate for that cash, agreed, it's a good deal. Nobody was expecting a 20 million offer for a 33-year-old striker, right? But if things work out the way they do and Aubameyang stays and we're not financially in the hole because of it, worse things could happen, right? I've got some other names on the list of people who still need to maybe find an exit, and out of the people who could potentially stay from that list, Aubameyang is one of the ones that I'd be okay with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And I think maybe, they said that maybe one of the main reasons for getting rid of Aubameyang was to register Koundé, and then all of a sudden Koundé got registered with no need to shift things. So I agree. From a Barcelona point of view, I know Xavi wants to keep him. That's been widely reported that actually Xavi does want to keep him. I suppose that's the manager just wanting the best team possible, isn't it, to help win titles? But so let's see. Let's see. I think, like you say, if there's no real financial need, of course it will help. Still, it will give us, it will give us some more financial clarity. But I think there's no desperate need. I don't think anyone we bring in, will require Aubameyang to go anymore. So it does change things. It does.
Yeah. So again, tied to financial needs, let's talk Frenkie de Jong.
Yeah.
Before we get into current status, what is your take on it? What are your feelings, just as a supporter? What are your feelings about the de Jong situation?
Well, I don't think it was a very pleasant situation, all of it. I think since May, I think Barcelona effectively started one of their campaigns to force a player out of the club, and I was quite public in the fact that I thought he was going to leave. I really did, and I'm actually I've been proven really wrong on this one because it was something I was almost quite set on. I really thought no matter what happens, they're going to get De Jong out the door here. They haven't. De Jong stayed put unless something unbelievable happens, which I really don't think it will, by the way, because De Jong is so set on staying. And fair play to him, he threw aside everything, every campaign and everything they tried. He just said no, and he stayed put.
Yeah.
That makes it quite awkward for me. It does a bit, but De Jong, he seems fine. He doesn't seem quite first choice right now, but as the season goes on, it could do him a bit of benefit to, fight a bit more for his place and see if he gets back in the Barcelona team. He's got, kind of Gavi fighting with him there too. If Busquets gets rotated, he could play in a deeper role. Let's see how Pedri holds up for the season with the World Cup too. So I think De Jong will get minutes and he'll stay at Barcelona now. But like I say, I don't think the way they tried to force him out of the club was great. I don't. We've seen it before, unfortunately, though. And I am shocked that De Jong has stayed put. But now that he's stayed put, I think it's a good thing for Barcelona, really, isn't it? We want to be keeping our best players, and I'm hoping De Jong can turn into one of those.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's shown some mental strength here, some mental fortitude in going through some criticism, going through some backlash, really, because of the reports of the inflated salary. I think a lot of folks, because of the Dembele situation, we're now just throwing De Jong in that same bucket. And I think those are apples and oranges to me. Yeah. I've spoken about my strong feelings about Dembele, who I'm happy to see has turned things around. He's incredible performances so far. So all good there. Fresh start for Dembele. But De Jong, I think if you pay attention to Barcelona's marketing, they're clearly favoring the dream teens, as they've been dubbed, and that's going to trickle down to Gavi getting a little bit of favoritism, I think, over De Jong. Yeah. What he does with that opportunity, what Gavi does with that, is up to him. I think first couple matches was a little bit slow out of the gates, but in this most recent one against Valladolid, I think we're like, okay, there's Gavi. He's back. He took a couple matches, but he's back. So I hope Frenkie stays. I hope we work out whatever we need to work out with his salary, because I just think ultimately it's a bad look for Barcelona to be in this situation with De Jong, and we need to get to an amicable solution that gets us back in good standing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the salary remains a big issue, I suppose, with these awful deferred payments. I suppose that we still have to owe players money at the end of their contracts, which, let's see. I suppose the board are kind of banking on a lot of the players, the likes of Gerard Piqué, kind of hoping for their love of the club to give up this cash. So that's one of those again. But yeah, like you say, I think it's time to make peace with De Jong, really, and move on with the season now. That's it. Once the window shuts and the squad is done, same for every club, really. That's it now. No more little campaigns in the market. We just got to focus on the season now, and of course that's the same for De Jong. He's a big player for Barcelona, so we want to see him on the pitch and thriving for us.
Yeah. I'm curious what kind of reactions you get, because everyone that I talk to is just so furious, so upset about players taking pay cuts, renegotiating their salaries to play for Barcelona. Is it fair play if the players are willing to do it, or is there something unethical about a club leaning on players to renegotiate, to suspend pay? To what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. The abuse Barcelona have got this summer has been really something quite incredible, to be honest. And it has been a shame because I feel like it's also been pushed forward by reputable journalists as well, which isn't good to see. If that's your profession, and that's something I want to get to one day too, if that's your profession, and if you don't know about a situation, so say for example, I don't know, Newcastle or Man United have got problems, I wouldn't then be going, trying to spark fires and kind of, ignite fans against clubs, which I think there's been a bit of this summer, and I don't think that's not been good to see either. And I think Barcelona's financial situation, I'm actually trying to produce an article on it. I've been doing some research, and it's not good, but Barcelona have done something where they've just sold club assets. They're their assets, so they've just sold them. It's risky, and they've made the move, and that's that. Like that is that. In terms of is it ethical or not, it's not ideal, but at the end of the day, it's an institution, and the salaries that Bartomeu handed out these players were completely out of market. So they weren't on normal salaries, and the club have then gone, hang on a minute, let's push you down even more. These guys were on just disgusting amounts of money, really. If you compare it to if you got people outside of football looking at these salaries, they'd be thinking, what on earth happened here? So we've got players on just disgusting amounts of money, and the club have cut them down. And like you say, they've agreed to it. I don't think the English media in particular were happy with the fact that De Jong would happily, or well, he'd rather stay at Barcelona on a cut salary than go to Manchester United on triple the amount. That's just a sporting decision. That's not anything to do with money, really. He just doesn't want to go to Manchester United, which is fair enough right now, and he wants to stay at his dream club, Barcelona. So yeah, what was written and said about Barcelona this summer has been a bit ugly. It's been a bit misinformed. And I get if some people are a little bit upset and they think it's wrong or whatnot, but I think if you do enough research into the situation and you understand a few things, then I'm not saying it's an easy thing to understand, by the way, because it's really complex. Even for me and you, John, who are Barca fans, it does it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. We've said that several times, but it's just I don't know. Yeah, it annoyed me a bit, and I think it's annoyed a lot of Barca fans, as we've seen on social media with the whole complaints and the salary thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think there's been some intentional or unintentional twisting of some facts, of some storylines, I think, to get some clicks. So
Yes.
I'm for me, I'm glad to see Barcelona do what we needed to do. I know we still might have some moves left, but we had an amazing transfer window, got done what we needed to get done. We have a very deep squad. Let's close that door and move on. I'm excited to put a close to that chapter, but we're not done talking about it yet. No. There's a few more names on that exit list. Memphis Depay, Braithwaite, recently Pjanic, and then I know he's down at Barca B for the most part, but Abde is also being sought after by a couple of different Spanish clubs. We're going to see any of those players actually make a move?
Let's see. I mean, we had the famous Gerard Romero from this transfer window say that Barca could be seeing, 5 exits and 3 arrivals. He was still trying to push Bernardo Silva. I see Bernardo as unlikely. And he was also saying, Bellerin and Alonso at fullback. And kind of like I've said, we're kind of running out of hours here. So exits-wise, Barcelona have got to make exits, as we say, with Aubameyang. If that goes through, that could help some things. Memphis, he looked like he was going all window long, really, but if Aubameyang goes, then and Memphis has no move on the table at the moment, Memphis could stay. That could be a really weird situation that ends up happening. Braithwaite, I mean, I think either way, Braithwaite won't be a Barcelona player. Even if he doesn't get a move, I think they'll either terminate his contract or leave him without a squad number, which isn't ideal. And I don't get why you'd want that as a player with the World Cup coming up, why you'd be rejecting offers and stuff. But these guys, I mean, it's another thing we us Barca fans get hate about for saying that these guys should go, and they say they're under contract and stuff. It's for their own good as well. I never understood as a footballer not wanting to play, but hey, that's another thing that the Barca fans got a lot of stick for. I don't know why. Pjanic, interesting one. I'm not really sure why they decided to keep the poor guy around, to be honest, because I don't know how much they'll play him. I think he's a technical footballer, but I think his time at Barca never really worked out, and I think it was probably up. I would have rather have kept Nico, but fair play to Nico. He said, I really want to play. So that was his choice. And fair enough to Barca and Xavi for letting him go. Pjanic, if we play him, then okay. But who knows? It doesn't look like they had much trust in him. The chance was against Real Sociedad and they didn't take it when Busquets was suspended. So let's see what happens. There was a rumours of Al Nassr were going in for him, but apparently that's false. So at the moment he stays. Similar like a lot of these players, it looked like they were leaving, but now they're staying. So nothing really can happen, can it? Who else was on this? Abde, I think will get a loan move to La Liga. I think that will go through.
Yeah.
And then I suppose the last one would be Serginho Dest, who again we have to wait and see what happens with. There's Villarreal on the table, Manchester United. It doesn't look like he's in favour right now. I wondered what you thought about the Dest situation, because he's sort of being forced out of Barca again now.
Yeah, I'm pretty heartbroken about it.
Yeah.
I excuse me.
Yeah.
I of course I really wanted Dest to work out. But even I can admit with a heavy slathering of bias, I can still admit that Dest has been inconsistent at best. His I think top performances have actually been at left back, filling in for Jordi
Yeah.
Alba. But now with the emergence of Balde, who's I think showing that he's ready to step up, that then kind of takes away one of the check marks that was keeping Dest in favor. So that combined with really not a good preseason. I did not like what I was seeing from Dest. Didn't have all the opportunities. I mean, he started, I think, actually, I don't know if he started, but he played in the first couple and then was left off for, the last ones going into it. So I'm disappointed, but I understand. I was proud of him for fighting up to this point and sticking around and showing, as Frenkie did, some mental strength. But at this point, if I'm Dest, because the World Cup is coming up, I'm gonna jump ship, hopefully for a loan, and have that chip on my shoulder, playing through the first half of the season, have an amazing World Cup, finish the season strong, and then come back to Barcelona. That would be ideal at this point. I can't even say that I want him to stay at Barcelona because I don't think he's going to be given that option with Koundé, with Araujo, with Roberto, all being selected in front of him at a position that he's the only one who naturally plays there. So I hope he takes a loan move. I would like to see him go to Man United because I think it'll be a more interesting challenge for him.
Yeah.
I think it'll give him a better experience that he'll need going into the World Cup. I don't want to play against him or see him in La Liga. It'll just make me feel bad, Even though I'm sure Barca fans would want him to be loaned into La Liga so you get La Liga experience. That makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just I'm going to be selfish and say I don't want to see that. Yeah. Okay, so that's exits. So fingers crossed. I think hopefully. One more point because I want to circle back to something that you said. If Alba and Memphis both stay, nobody saw that coming, right?
No.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on what would happen to Ferran Torres because he seems to right now, as it stands, be struggling to find his spot. For me, Dembele and Rafinha are both demonstrating that they're better on the right side.
Yeah.
Ansu Fati, for me, is first choice left wing, but he's got to get up to 90 minutes match fitness. Once that happens, the second choice left wing is either going to be Ferran or Memphis, right? It gets pretty crowded if Memphis and Aubameyang stay, and I'm kind of concerned for Ferran Torres if he doesn't start producing a little bit more than what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's why I feel like at least one of Memphis or Aubameyang will leave before the window ends. Let's see. Like I was saying, nothing's like too advanced right now, but you just feel like logistically one of them at least will leave. I remember it looked like at one point both would leave, actually, quite guaranteed. Then that slowed down, and then now it looks like maybe neither. I think one will have to leave. Maybe it will be Aubameyang to Chelsea, and that makes an unexpected Memphis stay. But yeah, I mean, you're right to bring up Ferran Torres, definitely, because I mean, it's so strange how much, even less than a year can change. When Ferran came in January, like just 8 months ago, really, he was almost like that's the star attacker now. Ferran Torres is going to be Barcelona's guy. 8 months time, he could be the sixth attacker or so. It's just crazy, isn't it? The way things work, and I suppose that's a good thing in a way that we're strengthening. But for Ferran, it's definitely worrying. It is worrying. He's meant to be a big player for Spain at the World Cup, a really big player for Luis Enrique, and one of these star attackers, as he was meant to be for Barcelona. But he's just not performing at the levels that I expect from Ferran Torres. Dribbling wise, he seems a bit stuck in his feet. He doesn't get the ball out of his feet. Doesn't seem clean with his dribbling. His shot isn't ideal as well. It's not too clean either. I don't know. He just doesn't seem full on Ferran Torres right now, and that's worrying. And maybe that's been the case for a bit because he gets a lot of stick now from the supporters as well on social media at least. I see a lot of Ferran stick. So And Barca have got players like you say, Xavi's also been playing Dembele and Rafinha on either side. Ansu Fati clearly prefers, and Ansu looks on good form as well. If Memphis comes back and starts performing, Fernando's going to struggle for minutes, that's for sure. And he's in a position now where he needs to kick on this season. He does, and he's got a big few months coming up for Ferran Torres. He really does, especially with that World Cup coming around, because that's so key for him. Because for Spain, he's a massive player.
Yeah, yeah, and you said it. Kool-Aids are very quick to get to the mentality of what have you done for me lately. So if you go a few matches and you don't get a goal and assist, some highlights on the dribbling front, something to give the Kool-Aid some excitement. It's time to move on. And like you said, we got a lot of options, so it could be interesting. But speaking of Man City players, can we are we done now that Pep has said Silva's staying? Can we stop? I got on Twitter right before this. I'm scrolling through, and still, it's back and forth. Silva, yes. Silva, no. What's going on, Pablo?
I don't know, but because of Gerard Romero's reputation, and he's kind of the guy we've been following the transfer window, and he was the one who hasn't necessarily pushed Bernardo Silva's move as much as he had for the others, but he did say, "Hey, this is possible. It's more than possible." I always thought Barca could pull it off. I think technically they maybe still could. If Aubameyang left, if Dest left, if Pjanic left, maybe if Memphis left as well, I think Barca would have their space. But it's the 31st of August, and I think this has gone on too long now. I don't think Bernardo Silva will be a Barcelona player this window. I really don't. This is a big move. It's a big player. It's a massive player for Manchester City. One of the top players in the world for me, by the way. I think he would have been an amazing signing. Do Barcelona massively need him? I don't think they hugely do, but I do think he'd be a player who would come in, who would play, and who would improve Barcelona's game. I think it would have been an amazing signing, but and I always like to believe, especially when Gerard Romero puts hope in my mind, because he's put hope in the moves that looked off this window and they all came true. That's why I kind of kept believing, but it's got to the point where we have to take a bit of sense with some transfers now. We're getting to a late stage in the window now. There's far less than 48 hours left, that's for sure. I don't think Barcelona will sign Bernardo Silva from Manchester City this window. I don't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'd love to see it happen, but I'm not going to get my hopes up by any means. And really, if we're going to be practical about it, I would like to see Barcelona target a right back. If we have money to spend, even if we do, if Dest moves on, if either Memphis and or Aubameyang move on, Pjanic, like you mentioned, if we clear that space, let's say it is 5 players out, I want to prioritize a right back. I think that brings balance to the team. I think that defensively, I know we're fine with Koundé or Araujo on the defensive third, but either one of them, as soon as they get in the attacking third, they're no Dani Alves. All right, I'll say that. So I would like us to focus on a right back solution.
Yeah.
Is there one out there though? Let's say Barcelona do go for somebody. Is there anybody on a short list? Anybody that you have in mind?
I mean, this is a thing. The rumors are that the chosen one would be Hector Bellerin from Arsenal. I don't that can't be a move that fills Barcelona fans and thinks now we're getting a proper right back. It just can't be. And this is why I would have just kept Dest. I would have, and I know some people are really upset Dest is going. I know others are really happy. I'm with you. I do like Dest, and like I say, I would keep him, but I can't sit here and say Dest 100% deserves to stay because I don't think he's been consistent or quite at the level. But at the same time, I don't know if you can vouch for really adamantly getting rid of Dest to then sign Hector Bellerin. I don't know if that totally adds up, because I don't think if you're thinking about big Champions League games, massive games in La Liga, and you're thinking right back Hector Bellerin, like that doesn't sit right with me, and I find that a bit odd. So you're right. I don't think there's really one in the market. There's not one in the market anyway for a sensible price that makes me think, yeah, this will be a good signing before the end of the window. We had the rumors of Foyth, but Foyth would be similar to kind of like Azpilicueta and similar to even Araujo and Koundé, where he actually started off as a centre back and he's kind of been put a right back, and he's not that good in the final third either. Foyth, I know that won't happen now because of the injury and the price tag, but that was similar. So they're saying if one comes in, it will be Bellerin, but I just find it a bit strange. It's not convincing. And also on the other side, Marcos Alonso, who I don't mind as a player, but now with Alba being benched, with Balde coming through, I'm not really sure where the sense in that move is either. I really have to say that I don't know where the sense in that move is. And at right back, it's interesting, which is why I would have just kept Dest, because I don't think there's an option out there for us. And And I think the club still will bring in a right back, and it may well be Bellerin.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bellerin would be most likely to come in.
Yeah.
But out of all the names mentioned, anybody that's been rumored, even high end, none
Yeah.
of the names for me start over Koundé or Araujo when we face Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Right?
Neither.
So if we're not going to bring in a right back that fills that criteria, can you mark Vinny Jr.? Can you mark Mbappe? Can you mark what's his name? Liverpool's new striker, Darwin Núñez, you know, when he drifts out wide. We need someone who's going to be able to mark those elite forwards that play wide. And right now, if we're moving one of our center backs out to do that, and we're going to bring in somebody who's just going to be benched in those matches, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let that be Dest. You know.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So with who we've got, what's your best 11?
Ooh.
You can start wherever you want.
Yeah, well, let's start goalkeeper ter Stegen, of course. Started the season very well, actually.
Yeah.
Which is really good to see because we need that. We massively need that, by the way. All the top teams need a top goalkeeper. We saw that with Real Madrid in the Champions League and La Liga last season. So ter Stegen's already saved us actually in it quite a few times this season. Really good to see. Left back right now it has to be Balde. Who would have thought it? But that's great to see. That's not to say Alba won't be in there all season, but to be fair, Alba's had struggles defensively. If we want to move on from the Champions League disasters, then maybe it is time to start phasing out the likes of Alba. We've seen it happen to Piqué, so it can't be a negative thing. And Balde's played so well, so I'm so happy to see him there. At right back, you know what? I actually maybe think I prefer Koundé than Araujo at right back, but either one. And then I think I'd have either Araujo or Koundé, then next to Christensen at centre back. Even though I think Eric Garcia started very well, but I'm just trying to think, Champions League final lineup here.
Yeah.
And I think if we have Christensen next to either Koundé or Araujo, it's very strong. And then either Koundé or Araujo at right back is also, I think, adds some good defensive solidity on the right. In midfield, I'd go for Busquets, Pedri, and it's really hard to say because I'd probably go for Frenkie de Jong because I just feel like the balance is better. I'm not sure about the Busquets, Gavi, Pedri midfield. I'm a little skeptical on it. I don't know why. I just don't think it works amazingly, especially in big games. But I think that will be Xavi's preferred option. Maybe that's where Bernardo Silva came in on the right centre mid. I think he would have slotted there quite nicely. But I'll go for De Jong, and then up front it's difficult. Maybe Lewandowski down the middle. I want to play both Rafinha and Dembele on the right, it's so hard to pick. I think I know the fans prefer Dembele, but I think Rafinha's class. So maybe I just tip Rafinha. Very difficult choice because Dembele's produced a lot of assists for Barcelona in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the left, maybe I'd go Ansu Fati. So very strong team. And it's nice that we've got options. We've got weighing up there. There you're leaving out Ferran, Dembele, you're leaving out Gavi in midfield. In defence, you're leaving out Eric Garcia, Jordi Alba. So it's good. We've got options and I'd go with that.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. And as we said up front, we didn't really see this kind of turnaround coming, particularly in the spring as the season was winding down. Nobody had these kind of expectations. There was no discussion of levers. And now outside of like a Manchester City, we might have the deepest squad in Europe, so high expectations, of course, coming into the season. So what are your expectations in terms of where we're going to end up in La Liga? Are we bringing home any silverware this year? What do you think?
Well, I think we've got to bring home silverware. I do. We didn't bring any last season, and I think it's going to be really difficult. But I think the team have to set out to do that. First up, we've got the Supercopa, of course, coming up. Not the most prestigious trophy. That'll be in January again. So let's see if we can wrap up some silverware there. We've got to go for that one. I think we've got Betis in the semi-finals. Then it'll be either Real Madrid or Valencia in the final. In the Copa del Rey, I want to see us go on a cup run now that we've got that deep squad, like you say. Let's see what we can do in that. But of course, the big one, I think what Barca will be focusing on is winning La Liga.
Yeah.
And I, when people have asked me, I have said that I will put Barcelona as La Liga winners for this season because I think we can do it. But I'm also very wary of Real Madrid because I think Real Madrid are kind of in a mood where they feel like pretty invincible. I see every game Real Madrid go into, I feel like they're going to win it. And that's a big issue to be competing against. But you see even Espanyol on the weekend, it got to the 80th, 84th minute, and I think everyone kind of knew Real Madrid were going to win the game. That's a massive issue to have. You need entering games, drawing in the 85th minute, and you kind of know Real Madrid are going to win it. 70% chance they're going to win it. So Real Madrid are so strong that it makes it difficult. Champions League is really interesting, actually, because for once, I don't think England will be so will dominate so much in the Champions League. Chelsea, for example, have been really good in the Champions League in the past few seasons with Tuchel, but I don't know. We just look a bit off it right now. Manchester City, I think we'll be up there again, to be fair. And Haaland has surprised me even more than I thought he would, by the way. He looks unbelievable. But but I don't know. I don't know. I think they've also lost some players in Sterling and Jesus. Liverpool again don't look ideal. So I don't think England look as strong, and I think again Real Madrid could be up there in the Champions League. But the reason I don't put Barcelona as Champions League winners is because we've got quite a new team. We've got Xavi as the coach, as a new coach, and I think it'll take a lot. But yeah, in short, to wrap this rant up, I think La Liga's the thing we've got to be going for, but I'm just really wary about it because of how strong Real Madrid are.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Champions League would be ambitious. I did a list of bold predictions at the beginning of the season, and one of them was that by March we will be considered favorites. Not like guaranteeing that but I think we'll hit a stride at some point in this season where people are looking at Barcelona like, depending on how the brackets line up, maybe. But I think semifinals in Champions League is reasonable and not an embarrassing exit. Okay, you got to have that added on. But La Liga, I think, is the focus. I think that gives us a foothold for next season. I think that puts us back in the good graces of the fan base. We get some silverware. I think that'll be a good start to really kicking off the Xavi era, in this being his first full campaign. I think it'll be great. You mentioned Chelsea, so I want to ask about Pulisic. What's going on? Why can't he get minutes now?
Oh, well, honestly, Pulisic is going through. Every time you ask me this question, it's usually okay.
Yeah.
In this Pulisic update, Pulisic is going through a really bad time at Chelsea right now. Really bad. I'm sorry to say it, John, but this is not good for Pulisic at Chelsea. I think he wanted to leave this season and this summer even. And this has been an issue Chelsea have had. Well, still have really for their squad. We've got quite a few players who I think wanted to move on because they're not happy with guaranteed minutes. Ziyech was the same. I think Broha, the new striker, was the same. And Pulisic hasn't got the move. They kind of blocked it. There were some loan proposals that came in from the Premier League. Chelsea blocked those. I think Man United and Newcastle came in. Chelsea blocked those, understandably, to be fair, but he doesn't have the coach's trust, really, I don't think right now. When he comes in, he's often being shoehorned in different positions. When he does come on, he's not producing either. He looks a little. I mean, when he came on last night, for example, it's the worst I've seen Pulisic play in a long time, just tripping over the ball. I was like, oh, what's going on, Christian, man? Like, what is going on? So right now, not good. And that's a shame for you, of course, with the World Cup coming up, because, you need Pulisic playing consistent minutes. And I almost have to apologize from that point of view, because I don't know if Chelsea will give him those. And I think right now he's not very happy. And I know for a fact the fan base aren't very happy with him right now also, because I think they feel he wants to leave. He's not giving enough for the club. And he hasn't got that move, obviously. But look, I mean, we mentioned it earlier. Once the window's over, that's it. And I hope that kind of happens for Chelsea, just to settle down the ship a bit. If Ziyech isn't going, then settle down. And you're a Chelsea player now. You play for us. Same with Christian Pulisic. Same with anyone else. Armando Broja. Anyone. I think that will settle things down, because I think last summer there were also rumours of Pulisic leaving. He stayed in the end and performed well enough, or at least was focused on Chelsea. And I think he'll be fine. I do, but. And in this moment, today on the 31st of August, you're asking me for Pulisic update, and it's not a very good one from Chelsea.
Yeah. I knew that when I was asking. It's been hard. It's been very hard to watch. And it's been interesting because as that's happening, you have some other U.S. men's national team players starting to take the rise. You look at what's happening at Leeds right now. Aronson is getting a lot of eyes on him. You have other folks like Reina at Dortmund and McKennie at Juventus, so it's I think there's a lot of pressure from different angles on Pulisic right now. And you said it. I think he was looking to maybe make a move outside of Chelsea. It's a World Cup year. You want to get consistent playing time. Yeah. So I'm, again, similar to Dest, while I love the fact that he's at a big club, for the prestige and the notoriety, going into the World Cup, you got to be somewhere that's going to give you that playing time. So I hope, fingers crossed, both of them, Dest and Pulisic, can find the biggest club that will put them in the starting 11 week in, week out.
Yeah, no, yeah. They're in a similar boat, to be fair. I think Pulisic will get more minutes than Dest if he stays because Chelsea will need him in attack. They will at some point. So it's that simple. But yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Turning back to Barcelona. One more question, I'll get you out of here. Thoughts on the upcoming match versus Sevilla? What are your expectations? What can we expect? And can I get a prediction out of you?
Well, really big game for Barcelona. We've already dropped points to Rayo on match day 1, so time to win again. And with Real Madrid, who, like I said, I don't think will be dropping many points, we got to keep winning. Sevilla have had a troubled start to the season, so it's a chance for Barcelona not only to win a big game in a really tough stadium, but also to beat a team who are a little bit out of form. I do think Sevilla will turn up. I do. I think it's just in their nature. I think it'll be a real scrap and a tough game. I think it'll be an electric atmosphere at the Sanchez Pizjuan, as it usually is. It's a great stadium. And I think it's going to be a real tough game. But it's a test for Barcelona, and we've got to dominate the game. We have to put Sevilla where they've been in the last 3 match days, which has been in a really poor place. We have to impose our style on them, and we've got to dominate the game. We've got to score goals. We've got Lewandowski now, who can cause issues. Sevilla should, not guaranteed, they should be a little more open than some sides. I know Lopetegui, I wouldn't be surprised if he camped in a bit. He's very good tactically, so that could have caused us difficulties. But Rafinha, Dembele, Lewandowski, we've got players who can open up teams here, and I'm going to go 2-1 Barcelona. I think Barca could maybe run away with it if things go our way, but like I said, I am expecting Sevilla to turn up, so I'll go 2-1, and if Barca get any victory, it'll be a really big one and a statement.
Oh, yeah. Amen to that. Love the prediction. I appreciate the courage. What's the reception for Koundé going to be like? I mean, of course, it's not going to be anything like we saw in that Figo documentary with his first return to the Camp Nou. But what do you expect from the Sevilla faithful in response to Koundé coming back?
I get the feeling they're going to whistle him, at least for a bit. I just get the feeling. Sevilla are a very proud football club. Their fans are very... nasty is not the word, but they're just quite fierce. So I think they will whistle Koundé. They want to make him feel uncomfortable, and ultimately they want the 3 points. I think they're a club that they'll want to feel, hang on a minute, we're not inferior to Barcelona. You know, you left us, but we're still here. We're still Sevilla, and we're still going to give you a game here. So you left, you'll take the brunt of it now. You know, we're better off without you, even though they certainly won't be. And I think they'll whistle him at least for the first half, and maybe then, to be fair, in the future, they won't do it again. It didn't leave in a necessarily bad way, to be fair to Koundé. He kept training with the club. He was going to the big move. It was either Chelsea or Barcelona, and he always wanted Barcelona. So I know Sevilla fans would have rather he went to Chelsea, I think, just to avoid La Liga. But I think they'll be hostile, but not disgraceful like Figo, for example.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. I think they'll let him know that they're not happy about it, but it's not going to be an ugly scene, we'll say. No. I think the whistles will probably be as far as it go. And like you said too, maybe this season, maybe a little bit next, but it's not going to be an ongoing. It won't be for his career, because at the end of the day, Sevilla, they know once you reach a certain status, if you're getting attention from those big clubs, it happens. You move on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Pablo, before I get you out of here, I saw one of my moderators, Ayush. He has created what are called the Barça emojis. I don't know if you've seen this on the channel, but every player and me and some other folks on the channel too have their own command. So when it's exclamation point and then a player's name, there's specific emojis that come up. Yeah. So like Dembele gets a mosquito. Pedri gets like a wizard and an alien, that kind of thing. Ayush is asking what you would want your emoji to be.
It's such a tough question. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull up my phone and have a look at some of my recent emojis, because I want a good emoji now on the star squad.
Yeah, put you on the spot.
Let's go for. Go on. You know, I'll have that emoji.
There it is. Yes, the Ronaldinho. I love it.
If that hasn't been taken.
No, I don't think it's been taken at all. So lock it in. That's for Pablo.
Yeah.
Love to see it. All right, Pablo, anything else that you want to share with the Stash Squad, with Kool-Ace around the world? Anything that you got going on that you want to talk about?
Well, as of now, nothing, but hopefully this season something. Hopefully something that I'll start. I don't know if I'll start even just a small channel or a website or something, a hub essentially to have some content and do stuff with you, John, and journalists, or interviews, or just speaking a bit about Barca and games or topics in football. I want to get that started sooner. We spoke a bit about that off camera, but for now, not much. Just I always say, head over to my Twitter, and because on Twitter, when I do anything new, I will put it on there. So Pablo WB official, for now on Twitter, but hopefully 2022-23 season, I get something started up again.
Absolutely, Pablo. We're looking forward to it. We know you're going to be a superstar, so we're very happy to have connected with you in these early stages and see your career flourish. I know you're going on to big things, my man.
No, it's my pleasure to be here. Honestly, I love coming on and speaking to you, John. So honestly, thank you again for giving me the opportunity and the platform as always.
Always, brother. It's great talking with you. Enjoy the rest of your
Yeah.
day, and we'll chat soon.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right. See you, Pablo.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Of course, I restarted the intro. Why not make a mistake right at the end of that there? But boy, Pablo, always loved the conversation. Always very insightful, very entertaining. I appreciate everyone hanging out with us for a double dose of Wake Up in Barca here on this beautiful Wednesday. I hope you all get to go out and enjoy your days. High fives and hugs for whoever wants it. Positive interactions all around. Support the badge, support each other. That's what we do here on the Stash Squad. If you're just finding us, subscribe to the channel so you can come hang out and have some good conversation with your fellow culés from around the world as we support the Blaugrana. Thank you to my Stash mods. Ayush, appreciate you running things, especially on the Barca emojis front. Go ahead and add Pablo's in when you get a chance. And I will see all of you Friday for a full match preview of Barcelona versus Sevilla. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking a ride. Mwah.